Pop, persuadable. What's going on, boo-boos? All right, we're going to do a joke. Oh, man, I don't even want to do this one. Y'all know it's bad when I got to give you like a warning, like shit. All right, you ready? I Googled this. This ain't mine. Everything after this joke is mine, but you ready? How do you pay a doctor to perform a circumcision? You tell them to keep the tip. Gee. All right. We unsubscribe. Jesus. We're gonna talk about the Embalmer. When I say Embalmer, I feel like I'm saying like Obama. Anyways, we're gonna talk about Embalmer. And I took a little bit to really do research on Embalmer as much as I could. I also talked to several high-tier Embalmer mains. We settled some things. So how about we get right into it? Where this update has come, the adjustment. So the first adjustment essentially is the addition to Rebirth trait. So what this essentially means is that when a survivor has Rebirth, so that's pretty much when you put the coffin up and you see them and you're able to put the ability on them or yourself. Rebirth essentially means that it activates when you hit the ground. So when you hit the ground, you have 3 seconds to choose whether you wish to resurrect that survivor or yourself. All right. Now, the thing is that with this ability, there was a lot of confusion with this. People thought that you could only activate this on the ground, and that's not true. So let me give you an example. Say if I have Rebirth on me, all right? So I go to the coffin, and actually you don't have to put it on you, but that Rebirth essentially means that you go back to the coffin, okay? So say if I have Rebirth, I didn't put it on anyone else, I put the coffin down, and then I run into the hunter. When the hunter knocks me down, I have 3 seconds while on the ground to rebirth back to my coffin. If I choose not to do it, all right, say if you have a forward near you or a cowboy or an enchantress or prospector or prisoner or pretty much any other fucking survivor these days that have stun abilities, then I can cancel the rebirth and say, hey, I don't want to go back to my coffin yet. I want to chill here on the ground. And then when the hunter picks you up, if they pick you up and they put you on the rocket chair, you get another notification, 3 seconds to be rebirth, which is a really it's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. So you have 2 chances to technically rebirth somebody. 1, when they immediately go down, or 2, when they get put in the rocket chair. Now, me personally, I don't really like rebirthing somebody when they're on the ground. And the reason being so is that you're kind of rebirthing a little too soon. You can waste time for the hunter to pick the survivor up, waste like 6-7 seconds putting them on the rocket chair, and then you can rebirth them. But it's situational because sometimes the hunter will know that the coffin is on them and sometimes move closer to the coffin, which is a whole different dilemma that you have to worry about. All right, so there's a lot of strategies now with Embalmer that I feel lacked in the beginning, but we're going to talk about all of his buffs, and then we're going to come back to everything, all right? So that's pretty much how Rebirth works now, okay? One of the bad things, I guess you could say, is that when the exit gate is activated, Resurrection no longer comes with a tide turner effect. So we know that one of the main things with Embalmer was you put the coffin down, and pretty much if somebody's resurrected, when the exit gates are open, they can run right outside. And if they're hit, they have tide turner still activated. That's been removed. So let me make this clear. You still have tide turner. Tide turner is still a thing, but not when the exit gates are open. So if I put a coffin down and I resurrect you and you get hit, you have 15 seconds tide turner. But if I resurrect you near an exit gate after it's already open, then you don't have tide turner activated. So that is a nerf. I mean, that's why this is an adjustment. It's a nerf. And a lot of some embalmers are really focusing just on that one aspect. And I think that's a little unfair because there's a whole shitload of things that Embalmer ended up getting out of this. All right, so the other thing too is that when the exit gate is open, the coffin can't be placed on the inside of the exit gate. All right, well, who cares about that one? The last thing is once the Embalmer has escaped from the manor, coffins in the scene will be removed. That kind of sucks, I'm not going to lie. And that kind of sucks because there's times where I rebirth somebody, or rather the ability is on them, and then I get pushed out of the gate. And then the hunter goes back towards that survivor and knocks them down. And so normally they'd be rebirth, but they no longer are because I had to leave the match. So when you leave the match, your coffin's done. Doesn't matter if you rebirth somebody or not. And that kind of sucks because that makes you kind of want to stick around. And that can backfire if somebody's near dungeon. The big thing with Embalmer now is that you can move your coffins with you. So one of the things that I like about Embalmer is that depending on where I spawn, you can put a coffin down right away. And you can transition away from that coffin, depending on which spawn point you have. You really have to try to decide, all right, am I in a risky spawn area? Think of shack area of hospital. You know, put your coffin down there if you wanted to. It depends on your strategy. I'll show footage later in this video. But I think the ability to move your coffin is a huge advantage for Embalmer. I think that the ability to have 2 chances to resurrect somebody, once when they're on the ground and once when they're in the rocket chair, is an important ability, especially for people with team communications, because now if there's harassers nearby, then you don't have to activate the resurrection on the ground. So I like that. Does it suck that he loses the tide turner after the exit gates are open with the coffin? Sure. But you have the ability to move your coffin now. And remember that if you do get saved, you increase the amount of coffins you can use, which is pretty cool. Doesn't really happen often, but it's pretty cool. The other thing with Embalmer is that really you have a lot of capabilities of being really, really strong late game. I'm going to try to include some footage within this video if I can remember. But one of the things that I have been noticing about Embalmer is that late game, he kind of comes in clutch. And he kind of comes in clutch late game because he can go and save and body block. And even if he body blocks and he goes on the ground, you can just resurrect and start decoding again, depending on the circumstances. My point is this. He has a lot of flexibility to him now. And although, yes, he did lose that tide turner aspect, I feel like he gained a lot more. And I feel like there's a lot more strategies. Embalmer had very few strategies. And it was pretty much put the coffin at the exit gate, resurrect somebody, and tide turner your way in. I mean, it really was not one-dimensional, but it was relatively simple. Now, Embalmer has a lot of strategies. You put that coffin down and transition kite like an animal, and you're on the other side of the map now. Especially if you're on with team comms and you can tell somebody, don't even bother rescuing me, continue decoding. Don't send a rescuer. I know they don't have teleport, they blinked or they used peepers. There's a lot of strategy there. There's been a lot of instances where I'm playing Embalmer and it's sort of late game and I don't have tide turner. I get hit, I go for the rescue, I get hit again. We're down to 1 cipher, still 4 people up. I can just resurrect myself and get back to decoding. I mean, you actually saw that in the first film. In the first gameplay of this video, I was able to double rescue, take a hit, resurrect, and get back to decoding. He's way more creative. There's way more things you can do. There's way more ways to play the character now. And I think that's a good thing. Yeah, you lost the tide turner. I get that. That sucks. But you got the ability to move your coffin now. You don't have to waste early game trying to go to an exit gate right away. You have the ability to use that coffin in numerous ways. And I think that's a strong point. A very, very strong point. That actually makes him more enjoyable to play. Now that also may be because, I never was too fond of Embalmer to begin with. This is a clip just showing a basic idea. It doesn't really work out in my favor, which is why I kind of want to use this footage. But there's been plenty of opportunities. So in the first match you saw within this footage, you saw how me going in for a double rescue allowed me to go and resurrect and then continue decoding. Now in this situation, I have my coffin in an area where I've already finished the cipher. So even if this hunter theoretically had teleport, he's not going to be able to get to me. So what I'm doing here is I'm trying to body block for this character. Now, I don't know why, but I just decided to do it. And we don't really coordinate well here. So this whole plan kind of, screwed up. I should try to get out of here. And I kind of mess up. And then I mess up in my kite. Remember, I'm still learning Percy just like you all are. So I thought he was going to be able to jump through this window. See? And he didn't, and then I overextended. It was just a bad play, okay? But this kind of shows you how I can just resurrect on the ground, go back to my coffin, and relocate to an area. Now, you could say this isn't really the best strategy to do, because if the hunter, teleports on you or finds you, then you're one shot on the rocket chair. That's true. But you got to remember that it also means that I don't have to sit on the ground healing. Now, I purposely let him hit me there so I could hop on the pallet. I think a lot of people need to do that better for some of these hunters, where when you're ready for the cipher pop, get ready towards like a pallet or a window and then get that boost. So let them hit you and just double up on the boost. But yeah, so anyways, I think that he is much more versatile. It sucks about the tide turner being removed again after the exit gates close, or open rather. But I think that this is way better. Being able to move the coffin, it can help you early game, help you mid game. It can help you late game when you need to go and provide extra. There's times where late game you can actually get double hit and not having to worry, because you can just resurrect and it can buy your team enough time. I'm going to show you an example with this gameplay here about how when the game is going in your favor, late game can really provide you a lot of creativity. All right, so we see that the Gravekeeper is now, I was able to get that. All right, and what this does, all right, so we got 2 people down, right, and that's going to happen, and 1 cipher remaining. And so we see that the forward just got back up, right? And so as the Embalmer, I'm now running back over to go and try to harass. And what's nice about this is that I still have my coffin up. So there's a lot of stuff I can do here. I can try to heal stall. I can try to take shots. I have a lot that I can do here. And honestly, I think the hunter, what he should have done was pick him up, but we still had forward. And so I'm going to just heal stall, and I'm down. And even if I just got hit again, I would have been able to resurrect myself. So sometimes you can body block, especially on something like that, and try to convince the hunter to go after you. And if they hit you and your coffin's in a good area, you can just resurrect. It gives you a lot of ability late game, as it always has. But removing the coffin, moving the coffin, right? One of the nice things is that you can relocate that coffin halfway through the match to either help a teammate with resurrection or to help yourself for late game in case there's a situation. I mean, there's a lot that you can do. You can put it on basement. I mean, a lot of that stuff you can do
move the coffin, you can
before this,
resurrect
but
on the ground,
I just think
so
that this makes
the
it
hunter's
easier
not
for
just
him
going to
because he can
stand there
relocate
over you,
that
watching
coffin.
you
So
bleed to
all
death.
in all, I think the adjustment is better.
I'm sure there's
I
certain
think it makes them
circumstances they may
more
still be able to
valid,
get away with
easier
that,
to use,
but
especially
not
with
really.
the ability to
And so
relocate
although we
it,
lost
especially
tide
late game
turner,
when you're all running into each other. If you're
I
having a
feel
good
like
match,
these
and
adjustments
it can really
make
prevent a tie
him more complete,
or a win
all
turning
around.
into a
Early
tie.
game, you have a
all
strategy.
right, and that's a really
Mid-game, you have a
important part.
strategy. Late game,
I'd like to
you have a
hear your
strategy.
feedback as well as
And
your
I think that's
strategies,
his
right? If you're a
strongest
top
suit.
Embalmer,
Do I think he's gonna be a
definitely
tournament
comment
player?
below some of
Most
the
likely
ideas that
not.
have been kicking in
But
your
let's
head
see how
since
he's
this
going to
adjustment.
play.
If
I
you
think this
disagree
makes
with
him better.
me, I would like your
Perfectly
input.
welcome your
And
feedback
thank
as
you
well.
for
Just be
watching,
polite,
ladies and gentlemen.
and you all have a
good
good
night.
day now.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
so much.